Yo, what's good? My name is Reginald, aka the Art Star, aka Mr. Straight Fire, and this is Unabashedly Reggie's review of Eminem's Revival album.
You still believe in me?
Now, before we start, as usual, remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, go on my Facebook page, and like it. That way you can share the content with your friends, and if you can, go on patreon.com/unabashedlyreggie to show me your support. And as I mentioned before, I have a partnership with EminemBase.com where you can go and get all your Eminem news. And also there's a section, an Unabashedly Reggie section, where all my breakdown videos of Eminem are there. Now, on the album. Revival, which is Eminem's 9th studio album, was released on December 15th of 2017. Its lead singles were Walk on Water featuring Beyonce and Untouchable, where Eminem talks about the mistreatment of African American in the United States of America. In the production, there's a lot of producers, which includes Rick Rubin, who actually executive produced the whole album. You have Alex the Kid, who did Love the Way You Lie previously, and I Need a Doctor. You also have Mr. Porter, aka The Non from D12. You have Emil Haney, who did previously The Monster and also Legacy. And you have DJ Khalil, Just Blaze, and more producers. Now, I'll go right into it, and I'll give my score out of 10. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Now, I don't know if some people might think, oh, this is low or whatever that is, but I like the IGN.com scale, which on their scale, a 9 is amazing, an 8 is great, and 7 is good. So what I'm saying is that this album is really good, although I don't think it is great. But hold on a second. This review that I'm giving you, that I'm saying that 7.5 is a 7.5 based on Eminem's career, based on his discography, what he did before. Because if that wasn't actually another rapper, I probably would give it like an 8 and 8.5. But because of the expectations that I have as a fan and things that I wanted from this album, I cannot say it is a great Eminem album. But before I get into anything, I want to say that I really, really love that album. And I want to explain how I came up with this 7.5. So this review is going to be a little more free-flowing and less structured, but I want to get out the negatives out of the way right from the bat. So my main thing that I was hoping from this album was to hear Eminem sound a little bit more like he used to sound before. Because as of late, when he raps with a voice that is, I feel it's not his actual voice, where he takes, almost as if he takes a persona, and he talks like this and raps like this in a way like that. And I personally do not really like that. So some songs when he does that, I'm like, I wish he could sound a little different and use his normal voice, which he actually does on this album, but not every time. And although I say that about that flow and that voice, there are songs that I really, really love, but even though he still does that. So that's why it's really good, but it's not great based on what I want. Now, for people that actually like that, like when Eminem raps that way, I totally understand if you think this is a great album, because really, it's a really good album. And like I was saying that on a song like River with Ed Sheeran, which I really like that song, but sometimes you rap with that tone, and I don't know why. It's as if he's playing, like I said, it's like he's playing a character. I would wish that he would just be himself a little bit more and sound like he used to, like he sounded in maybe Marshall Mathers LP or The Eminem Show, which are my favorite album, of course. And I have my cell phone. I took a couple notes as I was listening to the album. And also, one reason why this review came up like 4 days after it came out, actually, because the album leaked on the Wednesday before it actually dropped on the Friday, I wanted to make sure that I got all my thoughts together and make sure this review, when I look back, I feel like it was justified, the review that I give it. On Walk on Water, he said things like people complain about when he's shouting, when he's rapping too fast. And on this album, so when he said that, I was maybe hoping that he would not always go full blast all the time, which I think he did a good job of not doing all the time. But there's some song where he does the shouting that he did on Recovery, so that was a little confusing to me. Like on Tragic Ending, which sounds like a Recovery track. In my mind, although it was recorded probably in the last 2 years, but it sounds as if it was something that was straight out of Recovery. And about that, the way he sounds, one reason why I don't like a song that I think a lot of people or a lot of Eminem fans are liking is the Offended song. That song again, he raps with that tone and that voice, and at some point he used that cadence, that choppy flow like people talk about, that I don't really like. Although lyrically, of course, and it's a funny song. Like a lot of things he said, like I'm in my car, I was listening to it and I was laughing, but still, it's not sounding right. On this album, you can hear flows that from like Recovery, the Marshall Mathers LP, and even Relapse. For example, Relapse, I feel like Framed is a relapse flow, a tragic ending, like I mentioned, a recovery flow. Marshall Mathers LP, too, with those rock sounds. So, to me, if you can go back to those sounds, like that was Recoveries almost 10 years ago, if you can go back to that sound, I wish that he gave a couple songs where he sounded like on the Marshall Mathers LP or on the Eminem Show. And I know I'm focusing a lot on how it sounds, but that's because when it comes to writing, when it comes to lyrics and metaphor and wordplay, I know Eminem's always going to come with it. I know he's always going to come with some dope stuff, but I just feel that his delivery, if there's one thing throughout the year that is not as great as it used to be, is perhaps his delivery and how he sounds on a record. There's a couple songs that I don't really care for, that I don't really like. For example, Chloroseptic, again, there are some cool lyrics, but I don't really like the flow. And one thing that he did on that song, and he did on Believe, which I'm going to talk about later, actually I Believe is amazing. But I don't like the fact, first of all, I never thought that on an Eminem album, I would hear a mumble rapper like Fresher is. Let's face it, he's part of that generation of rappers who are called mumble rappers. Eminem also did some of that flows that these new young rappers are doing, like the da-da-da-da-da, his middle finger is free as a bird. Like Eminem is a pioneer. I don't want him to do stuff that other people are doing, because back then people were like the way I am, that's the flow that nobody did before. Eminem always comes up with new ways to rap, and for him to rap the same way these new rappers are doing, I was a little disappointed. Although Believe is one of my favorite songs on the album. So you see the little conflict that I have. The song that I really like, although I really like them, I think they're amazing, there's always something I'm like, I wish that was different. So maybe I'm being a little picky. And to continue about the songs that I don't really care for, it's not that they're bad songs, but I feel some songs could have been removed. Like Remind Me and Heat. They're both rock songs, and they sound similar, and they're both rock songs about courting a woman. So I don't know why both were on the album. I think I could have taken just one. And maybe Heat. I think Heat is a little more funnier, although the other one also has some really funny parts. But I think I would have taken Heat and maybe put the other one on a deluxe version a month after the album drops. Also, other songs that I don't think should have been on the album is the Need Me song with Pink. This song, it's another relationship. Also, the beat, I think it's a little bland. It kind of broke the flow of the whole album. As far as the content, we already had relationship songs. Before that, we had River, we had Bad Husband. So to have this song, I feel it was more kind of a favor of he was on Pink's album, now he has her on his album, but I don't think that song needed to be on the album at all, in my opinion. So all those little negative things that I just mentioned are a reason why I give it a 7.5, because of all those little missteps. And even, like I said, even on a song that I really like, there's this thing that I'm like, it could just need one thing and it could be great. One last thing, again, I just want to power through all the negative stuff and then go on the positive, because I really like this album, is the cover of the album. It's probably the cover that I like the least out of all his covers. Okay, maybe perhaps that Marshall Mathers LP1, the alternate cover when he's like in an alley. That was always a weird. We all know the real one is in front of the dress at home, right? But yeah, the cover is him being really reflective about America. And I think the cover doesn't go with the album, because I think that the album is actually a positive album. It's really, when I listen to the album, like I'm feeling good. Now, enough of all the negative, enough of all that. I hope you stayed through the whole video. I want to go through all the positive things, all the notes that I have. So let's talk about, first, okay, the production. The production in my mind is better than the production it's one of its best productions since the Eminem Show, or and maybe Relapse, because Relapse had some really good beats that Dr. Dre did. I think the production is really good. And people complain about all those pop beats that are on the album. And regarding that, the track listing, when I saw that, it was not an issue for me. It was not an issue because I knew that what mattered was not the features but the content, because Eminem was gonna come up with something nice on those songs. And to go back to the production that people thought that, oh yeah, it's too poppy, Eminem always rapped on unconventional rap beats. If you look at Kill You, that's really a weird tempo beat off like piano, something that most rappers don't do. Or The Real Slim Shady is really an odd beat. Without Me, Marshall Mathers, the actual song is more, it sounds like a Red Hot Chili Pepper song, really, when you think about it. So for Eminem to rap on things that are more unconventional, that's something he always did. So I don't think that's a right complaint. And personally, the production is really great on this album. Now, as far as the content, what he talked about, I feel in terms of content, this is a little bit recovery too, because there's a lot of relationship talk and songs that sometimes are fictional. And he talks about his overdose from in 2007, so his drug addiction period. So it reminds me, I think it's more, and it makes sense, right? Relapse, recovery, revival. And there's a lot of a relapse and a lot of recovery on this album. So it's part of that whole trilogy. This album, it really feels that it's like a closure, because he talks a lot about, I feel he closed things that he talked about throughout his whole career, being himself, his fans, which was on the first song, Walk on Water, and Believe. And I like that Believe kind of follows that religious theme that was set from Walk on Water. So he talks about that, how he feels. He talks about the black community. Now, it's something that Eminem talked about a little, because he's been accused of being the Elvis and stealing the community. He talked about that on White America. And now it's him coming full circle of finally on record doing something for the cause of black people. But I want to say something. For people who are saying, oh, Eminem is just trying to catch on this hype of everything that's going on in the world right now, what people don't know is that for years and years, Eminem has done a lot for the black community. It's just that it wasn't on record. He donated a lot of money in Michigan. And every time there was in Katrina, or lately, there was this charity thing for Justice for All or something. I forgot the name, sorry if I messed it up. And he gave like a bunch of money there. So he's always did something for the black community. It's just, it was not reflected on record. So people saying, oh, he's just trying to do a cash grab, he's a hypocrite, he's just, it's a publicity stunt. This is not true. Eminem has always been doing things with the black community. And also, look how long it took for him to sign a white rapper. And there's only one, really, it's Yellow Wolf. And if you look at his band, all his band members, all of them are black. So for people to say that Eminem is only now doing something for the black community, this is complete garbage. Now, other theme that come full circle is his relationship with Kim, the Bad Husband song, where he talks, and that's a little different from all the other songs, because all the other songs were about him criticizing her and also killing her on some songs. But now he's apologizing. So it's a closure, just like on Marshall Mathers' LP2, the closure with his mother. And finally, another topic is his daughter. I just love how he did it. It started with In My Head, which you don't really know what is in his head. And then at the last verse, he talks about Haley. And then the last two songs, Castle and A Rose, are about that. I like that concept, it's like a three-part song about Haley. The being Castle, where he talked, and the Castle, the concept of all the letters that he actually wrote to Haley. And I don't know if you listened to Eminem's fireside chat that he did on Shady 45, on the day the album was released. Before she was born, he actually wrote letters to Haley. And these letters are not the same, but it's the same concept. And what I like there, especially on A Rose, where it's basically when he overdosed and he's being full of tube, because he really couldn't talk there. So he wrote a song about things that he wanted to say while he was full of tubes and couldn't talk. And I like how he takes that flow, that drugged flow from a post-Encore, that period after Encore in like 2007, where he was rapping with that voice that sounded really clouded, and he takes that same flow. So it really brought me back to that moment, that period of time in Eminem's career. That cool thing he does where he said, I wish I could rewind, and then he goes back to Castle. So the end of A Rose is really the end of Castle. And one cool thing, I actually didn't notice that until he said it in that fireside chat interview, is when he said that, when he says the last 4 minute will be something else, and then when he says that, it's exactly at the 4th minute of the song. And it was a great way to close out, where he's just flushing out all the drugs. That was great. I think the content of this album is really great, and there's a lot of funny things, like I've mentioned on this album, jokes, things that I just heard and I was laughing out loud. And as far as the content, people that are complaining, oh, he's again talking about Kim, he's again talking about Haley, his daughters, oh, we all know about that, about how he hates fame. Now, I don't know why Eminem get that complaints when all the other rappers, most rappers, they all talk about the same thing. Like, if you look at all the gangster rappers, what they talk about their life in the street, they talk about the money they're getting, or specifically Drake talks about Holly's relationship, Jay-Z talks about his money, his lifestyle, or conscious rappers talk about all the issues in society. So I don't know why Eminem gets the flack for talking about the same thing. That's his reality, that's his world. So that's why every rapper has their own thing that they talk the same about. And for me, the content is not important in the way that it's up to the rapper to make me care about the content. And by doing so, making a great beat, having great lyrics and a great delivery. And that's what I think Eminem did for most of the album. Since probably The Eminem Show, it's the album that has the most songs that I have put on repeat at some point. Walk on Water, Untouchable, which actually will be my next breakdown. Also, you have River. I love Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran is extremely talented, and his hook, I think his hook is probably one of the best hook on the whole album. What else? Believe. Believe is amazing. Again, although there's some parts, some flow that I wish he didn't use, but put that aside, it's a really great song. So you have that song. And then you have In My Head. I really love that song. Castle, amazing song. And one song that the first time I heard, Nowhere, Fast. When I first heard it, I was like, okay, cool. It's a cool song. But then, I don't know why, the next day, a couple days after that, I had the song, the beat, Eminem's flow was in my head all the time. And in one day, I was just listening to only that song for an hour. And Bad Husband, I know a lot of people probably don't like the song. It's too poppy. It doesn't sound like rap or anything. But for me, it's one of my favorite songs on the album. It's one of the songs that I listen to the most because I just love how genuine his feelings are about Kim, and you can really feel it. And that first verse might be one of my favorite verses in the whole album. Now, it's not even a super lyrical verse. It's just that the rhyming, the delivery, I just love how he hit it. That ta-da-da-ta, 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 ta-da-da-ta. That flow is great in how every couple of syllables, the same sound comes up. And at the end of the verse, how he closes it with, girls, your dad is this scumbag and confused. So to be in front of the whole world and tell your daughters that you're a scumbag, man, that takes a lot of guts to do. And Eminem has always been real with us. And that's why I really like this song. So there's 7 to 8 songs that are amazing on this album. And I don't recall the last time. Yeah, like I said, it's been a while since Eminem had that many songs on one album that I love so much. Even if I give it a 7.5, at the end of the day, this album put a big old smile on my face. I'm really happy. And if that's his last album, I'm really content with that. So I think it's one of his best albums. I think after the first 3 albums, that might be his best album in my mind. And one cool thing, maybe I'm just reaching, but the album starts with why, and then the last thing it says is, now I know. So I think that's just, I don't know if he did that on purpose, but I just like that full circle thing, he asking why at the end, now I know. So that's pretty much what I think about Eminem's Revival album. I think it's a really good album, although I give it a 7.5 for the reason I've mentioned before. But if it's his last, I got what I want from that album. And let me know in the comments below what are your top 5 songs, and check out my Walk on Water breakdown. And my next breakdown will be Untouchable. And now, Marshall Mathers, you asked us, do we believe? I still believe. And until then, thanks. It's been real.